Welcome, YouTubers. All right, so let's get to it. This is a top 5 tips for new fishermen. I get a lot of questions from new fishermen, and I just wanted to make a quick video for you guys to post up anytime these questions get asked. I'm just going to link to this video. So let's get to it. First tip. My first tip is don't spend a whole lot of money on gear. You want to focus on buying what is known to work and stick with that. In other words, don't just buy everything you see at the tackle shop because it's on sale or it's on the shelf. Find out, spend time first and find out what actually works. And if you don't know what that is, stay tuned for this channel or do a little more research on YouTube, and I'm sure you'll find some suggestive videos to help you decide what to buy. Now, this mainly pertains to trout fishermen, this advice, but it can pertain to anybody in any type of fishing. But if you go out and just spend a whole bunch of money on the wrong rods, the wrong reels, the wrong baits, the wrong lures, all of that stuff, what ends up happening is you can end up out there and you're not having much luck, and you spent a whole lot of money doing it, and it gets very discouraging. So my first tip is find out what is working, and for trout or whatever species you're targeting, and buy only what you know is working well. That way you can always expand later, and when you begin to experiment, and you can try different things, but stick to the core things that are working. And like I said, we'll have some videos real soon that'll be linked in the description below that will talk about what those things are for trout, and that should help you out. All right, let's move on to tip number 2. For tip number 2, that is an easy one. Do some research about where you're going. Don't just show up to any lake thinking that you're gonna walk up and catch 100 fish and it's gonna be easy. Understand that without any research, your chances of catching fish are gonna greatly go down. And well, why is that? Why can't you just walk up and fish? Well, because every lake and stream and basically anywhere you can go fishing, they all have their their quirks and things that will contribute to making it a better experience or a better fishing day than others. I have 30 years fishing experience, can still go to these places that are supposed to be pretty good, and they're not. So even the best fishermen have trouble out there. So being a new fisherman is just going to make it that much harder if you've done no research. So that is definitely important. Find out if you're gonna, for example, if you're gonna head to Glen Helen, find out where people have had success in the past. Well, how do you do that? Well, you get online, you search reports, you search YouTube videos, you ask people that know what's going on, and just basically get in there, get involved in what you're doing, and you'll have more more success out there by doing a little research. So research. Okay, tip number 3, and this is an important one, and this is a tough one for people. I don't know why this is such a hard one, but don't be afraid to ask questions. That doesn't mean just here on YouTube. That means when you're out there on the shore, if you see somebody lighting up fish and they're catching a lot, don't be afraid to ask. A lot of people are pretty nice, and they'll answer those questions for you, and you'll get what you need out of it. But if you're out there and you're one of these guys like, I'm not gonna ask anyone, or whoever you are, and you're just not gonna ask because you're letting your pride take over, which I see a lot. I've seen it quite a bit over the years. You get this dad with his son, and they're out there and they're not catching anything, and they're over there looking at me and I'm over there lighting up fish, and they just don't want to ask. And you know, I'm not going to just go interrupt their fishing to tell them what's going on, but if they're asked, I always help people on the shore. Always. I never say no. I always tell them how to get them. In fact, I end up giving gear away. People that know me know that. I end up giving gear to complete strangers all the time. So don't be afraid to ask questions. It's so important to get out there and ask questions online, on the shore, and learn something. Every time you're out there, learn something. And you know what, if you ask questions with people and they don't want to answer, don't worry about it. Don't take it personal. Some people are just jerks and they don't want to help. So, but that doesn't mean that other people will be. You never know what you're going to learn. Some of the best tips I ever got was just by asking a couple of questions while on the shoreline. So that is my number 3 tip. Ask a lot of questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. My number 4 tip, this is a very important one also, that's why I made the number 4 slot, is don't be afraid to change up what you're doing. If you're out there and maybe you went fishing and you caught one fish one way, and now you're out there and that's the only thing you do, don't be afraid to switch things up. What does that mean, you might ask? Well, if you're fishing with you know, power bait, maybe throw a mice tail on there. If you're fishing with a gulp bag and you're not getting hit, maybe throw some power bait. Change your leader length, cast a little bit farther, cast a little bit shorter. Try different things out there. Don't be afraid to experiment, because here's the thing, if you're out there and you're not getting fish, then you have nothing to lose in trying something else. And I can't tell you how many times I've been on the shoreline where I've been fishing and decided, you know what, this isn't working, and just switched it up, tried a little different thing, and wham, wide open bite. It was just that little bit of difference. You can see that in my video recently at Fisherman's Retreat, where I decided to kind of move the bait along the bottom with a split shot. Was anybody else doing that out there? Nope, not one person. But you know what, it was the best way to fish that lake that day. So don't be afraid to try new things. And yeah, I mean, obviously in the first tip is don't waste money on a lot of stuff, but you have to start somewhere with product, right? And as you get out there, you know, you're gonna find that you might try like, oh, I'll just fish with power bait, and for a lot of people that's new, that's a go-to. Just try power bait. But over time, you're gonna find that it's not always the answer, and you can't be afraid to just try something else. So definitely don't be afraid to try other tactics, and even if that just means changing how you're casting, how far you're casting, the leaders, hook size, all these things can make a difference. So that's where I'm going with that. Just don't be afraid to change things up and make adjustments on the fly. Don't go out there with this plan, and then when the plan doesn't work, you're done. You know, that's a complete waste of a day. Just get out there and try a little bit of everything until you get bit. So tip number 5 is don't be afraid to move spots. This has been one of the best tips I have ever gotten. A lot of people, when they're new at fishing, they walk up to the lake, they see an open shoreline, and they decide, yep, that's it, that's where I'm gonna fish, and that's it for the day. And if they don't get bit there, then that's it. I have never seen that is a productive way to fish. It is always a good idea that if you're in a spot, give it an hour. You know, even some lakes, an hour is too much, but I would say in a busy lake, I wouldn't give it long. I'd say if you're at a lake like Glen Helen or some busy Southern California park lake, and you're out there and you decide that, you know, this is my spot, this is where I'm gonna go. I didn't do a lot of research, but let's say you didn't, and you just walk up, you see some shoreline and you're trying it. 15-20 minutes of getting on the water, you're not seeing fish at all, and nobody near you is even getting bit. that's a cue that, hey, while there's other shorelines available before all the rest of the people get there, maybe hop up and go fish another spot. Why do that? Well, because if you don't, you can end up basically sitting in the one spot all day where there weren't any fish being caught, and down 100 yards away it's wide open and you missed out. So, and on some bigger lakes, like Big Bear, that can really make a big difference. I mean, if you're out on Big Bear and you're fishing one spot and it's dead, I mean, I'd give every spot on Big Bear is like 1 hour is a solid amount of time. After an hour, it's time to go. It's time to throw your stuff in the car and go find another spot. Usually you will end up finding a better spot. And what moving does is it teaches you about the lake. You learn, okay, well, this area was dead, and then hey, if you fished it next time and it was dead again, well, then it's telling you that that location has consistently been slow, as opposed to another spot where, hey, I went there once and it was great, and I came back and it was great. So now you know that this area can be pretty good. So definitely move spots. It's a mistake that a lot of new fishermen make a lot of times, and it's just not a good productive way to fish. It's important to kind of get moving if you're not getting bit. It just depends on what lake you're at, but I would say a good window is 1 hour. 1 hour, no fish, time to go. And my bonus tip, this is would be number 6, but just a little bonus tip in there to add to the pile is get out there and have fun. Don't be afraid to just go get skunked. If you get out there and you spend time on the water, you're gonna learn no matter what, and that's important. The more time you spend fishing, the better you're gonna get no matter what. Some people I've talked to spent years. They went fishing for 2 years and never caught a fish, but they stayed at it, and a few of them ended up running into me, and I gave them a few tips that helped them out, and they end up catching fish, or they've learned from other people, or finally it just clicks and one day they learn what they need to know, and that's what does it. So don't be afraid to get out there and get skunked. The more you fish, the better you're gonna be, and just spend time on the water. Have a good time. Remember, every day on the water, fish or no fish, is a good day, and you're outside, you're not in the house, you're not at work. Just remember that, and that will usually help you get better at fishing by understanding that very concept. Just have a good time no matter what. That's my last tip. Gonna wrap it up for the top 5/6 tips for new fishermen. I hope those help you out, and we got some more videos coming along, including some gear videos. I know I get a lot of requests for gear videos and I never do them, so we're gonna change that, and we're gonna get some gear videos out there for you guys. I've never been a big gear review channel, but it's high time for that, and we're gonna start doing it for you guys, get them out there, and that way we'll have something to reference. So if you're into that stuff, make sure you're subscribing to the channel. We'll be posting up that kind of stuff and a lot of other videos for new and experienced fishermen real soon. So we appreciate you guys. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for all the Patreon users. You guys are awesome. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.